Imagine a typical morning. You walk into the kitchen, preparing breakfast, just as you have done countless times before. Perhaps you reach for the salt shaker, almost without thinking. Then, for a brief moment, you hesitate. Should I use less? Should I avoid it altogether? A few minutes later, you sit down beside a blood pressure monitor. The cuff tightens around your arm. You wait in silence as the numbers begin to appear on the screen. For many adults over 50, this routine has become surprisingly familiar. The numbers matter, of course. But what if we spend so much time watching the numbers that we overlook one of the most important systems influencing them? What if part of the story begins long before the reading appears on the monitor? The answer may involve two minerals that quietly accompany us every day: sodium and potassium. Most people have heard plenty about sodium. Potassium usually receives far less attention. Yet the relationship between these two nutrients may help us understand something much larger than blood pressure alone. It may help us understand how the body maintains balance. And balance is one of the most important themes in healthy aging. For years, sodium has often been portrayed as the problem. Potassium, meanwhile, is frequently presented as the solution. But the human body is rarely that simple. Sodium is not the enemy. Potassium is not a miracle cure. In reality, both are essential nutrients that the body depends on every single day. Long before sodium appeared on nutrition labels, it was helping maintain fluid balance, support nerve communication, and allow muscles to function properly. Long before potassium became associated with blood pressure, it was helping regulate the electrical activity of the heart, support muscle contractions, and assist countless cellular processes throughout the body. Neither exists on the sidelines. Both are active participants in the body's daily work. To appreciate why this matters, imagine each cell in the body as a small, busy home. Inside and outside that home, sodium and potassium constantly move in carefully regulated patterns. This movement helps create tiny electrical signals that allow nerves to communicate and muscles to contract. Every heartbeat, every step, every thought, every movement of your hand, all depend, in part, on this remarkable partnership. The body works best when sodium and potassium remain in balance, not because they cancel each other out, but because they work together. And this is where blood pressure enters the story. Blood pressure is influenced by many factors: age, genetics, sleep, physical activity, stress, kidney health, body weight, overall dietary patterns. There is no single cause and no single solution. However, researchers have long observed that sodium intake can influence blood pressure, particularly in people who are more sensitive to salt. At the same time, adequate potassium intake appears to support the body's natural systems involved in fluid balance, blood vessel function, and cardiovascular health. Yet modern eating patterns can sometimes make that balance more difficult to maintain. Many processed foods, packaged snacks, restaurant meals, and convenience products contain substantial amounts of sodium. At the same time, many people consume fewer vegetables, legumes, fruits, and other foods that naturally provide potassium. As a result, the challenge may not be excessive sodium alone. It may also involve insufficient potassium. This is an important distinction, because focusing only on what we should remove from our diet can sometimes distract us from what we may need to add. Many adults spend years trying to eat less sodium. Far fewer ask whether they are getting enough potassium. That shift in perspective can be surprisingly valuable. Instead of viewing food through the lens of restriction, we can begin thinking about nourishment and balance. And often, the most effective changes are not dramatic. They are small, practical, and sustainable. For example, many people immediately think of bananas when they hear the word potassium. Bananas can certainly contribute, but they are only one piece of a much larger picture. Potassium is found in a wide variety of foods: beans, leafy greens, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yogurt, avocados, many fruits and vegetables. These foods provide more than potassium alone. They often contribute fiber, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that support overall health. That is why healthy eating patterns tend to work better than focusing on individual nutrients in isolation. Sometimes a small adjustment can make a meaningful difference over time. Adding spinach to a morning omelet, including beans in a soup or salad, choosing a baked sweet potato instead of a processed side dish, replacing a heavily salted snack with foods that offer a broader range of nutrients. None of these choices are dramatic, but healthy aging is rarely built on dramatic decisions. It is usually built on repeated decisions, day after day, meal after meal, year after year. One of the challenges of getting older is that many changes happen gradually. Energy may feel different. Recovery may take longer. The body may become less forgiving than it once was. When this happens, it is easy to assume that decline is simply inevitable. But sometimes, the body is not failing. Sometimes it is adapting to the conditions we give it. And often, those conditions can be improved. This does not mean we can control every aspect of aging. No one can. But it does mean that understanding how the body works gives us opportunities to support it more effectively. The story of sodium and potassium reminds us of that truth. When these nutrients are discussed in popular media, the conversation often becomes overly simplified. Too much sodium, more potassium, problem solved. But biology rarely operates in slogans. The body is a network of interconnected systems. Each system depends on balance. Balance between activity and rest. Balance between challenge and recovery. Balance between nutrients working together. Sodium and potassium represent one small but important example of that larger principle. And perhaps that is the real lesson. This story is not ultimately about a salt shaker. It is not about a banana. And it is not even about a blood pressure reading. It is about understanding that the body was designed to function through cooperation, not extremes. As we grow older, health often becomes less about searching for a single answer and more about supporting the systems that quietly support us. In the end, good health is about understanding balance and respecting it. And when we support that balance, we give ourselves a better opportunity to stay active, remain independent, and continue enjoying the people, experiences, and moments that make life meaningful. After all, healthy aging is not simply about adding years to life. It is about helping those years remain rich with energy, purpose, and possibility.